We are live. Hey, how is it going? Lee Hayward here with the Total Fitness Bodybuilding video chat for Friday, March 18th. And the way these video chats work is I'm going to be hanging out here now for the next hour-ish, thereabouts, answering any questions and topics of discussion that you may have when it comes to fitness and nutrition, building muscle, and losing fat. So if you are tuning in right now, let me know if you can hear me and see me, and if this is coming through loud and clear. I just want to make sure everything is working fine on my end. So if you're tuning in, can you hear me? Can you see me? Just say loud and clear if it is coming through loud and clear. We've got Dan joining in. We've got Marcus joining in. We've got Sean. Good stuff. Okay, it is coming through loud and clear. I always want to do a check because had some technical issues in some of our recent chats, and I've changed my setup a little bit, and hopefully it is all coming through loud and clear. And again, you can hear me and see me. Awesome. So if you're brand new to the video chat, welcome. It's always nice to have new people tuning in, and I know we've got several regulars tuning in as well. And like I say, the way these work is I'm going to be hanging out and answering anything that you wanted to talk about regarding fitness, nutrition, building muscle, losing fat, any specific challenges you have with your program, anything that you want to work on regarding your goals. Feel free to type those questions and topics of discussion into our chat window, and I'll do the best that I can to help you out. All right, so let's see who else we got joining in. Just waiting for people to jump on board. We have Dan, Marcus, Sean, Lee, Steve, John, Josh. Okay. We have all right. Well, guys. Oh, hey, buddy. Daddy's doing a video
Hello,
check.
guys. Tom Holland here. Spider-Man.
He's pretending to be. Who are you? Who are you dressed up as? You are
Spider-Man.
Iron Spider too, right?
Yeah. You see?
Yep. Whoa, that's a cool suit, dude.
You see the spider on the back?
Yeah, I see the spider on the back. Yep, I do.
And the metal part.
Yeah, kind of looks really cool.
See?
Where's your Spider-Man mask?
And the Spider-Man.
Oh, you got Spider-Man boots. All right.
Okay.
Where's your Spider-Man mask?
You don't feel like wearing it.
Oh, you don't want to mess up your hair.
I don't. I don't want to have handsome hair.
Yes, you got handsome hair. Absolutely. More handsome than mine. Mine's just buzzed off.
Mine's more handsome though.
Yes, you. Yeah. Very brutally honest, right? My son is saying he's more handsomer. No doubt about it. He certainly is more handsomer than his old man. Well, that was an unexpected guest from the real Spider-Man joining us here on the video chat today. All righty, let's jump in and see what questions and topics of discussions we have coming through here. Sean is asking, does ammonia help for a maxed lift? Tried it once and I hit a deadlift PR. Okay, that's in the powerlifting strength training realm right there. Powerlifting, Olympic lifting, pushing the absolute limits. I've personally never done it, but you can actually get ammonia capsules. And if you've ever smelled ammonia, I mean, it's a real strong smell, but supposedly it can just help to wake you up, give you that extra jolt of energy. And you will literally see, like, if you go to a powerlifting competition or a weightlifting competition, sometimes when guys are going for a max lift and they want to pull out all the stops, they will literally crack open an ammonia capsule, sniff it, and just kind of get wired and then go and attempt their max lift. I've never tried it myself. I've never been one to do that. And from a general fitness point of view, there's absolutely no point in doing it. But from a powerlifting, trying to perform at your absolute best on demand for a lift in a competition, I mean, obviously some people find it's helpful, but I don't utilize it. You're back again.
My mom styled my hair for me.
Your mom's okay. Yes, you do look very handsome.
Yeah, I want to stay with you for 1 minute.
Oh, 1 minute. Okay.
Okay.
1 minute. Do you know how long a minute is? 60 seconds.
Think that much.
Well, a minute is this much, guys.
And
A minute is a time. Minute is 1 minute.
And right.
You're right. Okay. Yeah. Daddy's trying to do a video chat here now. I mean, you can hang out for a while if you want, or I can come out and play with you afterwards. We're going to talk about building muscle. Do you want to show your muscles? Oh, there you go. But you got big muscles.
I'm wearing a bodysuit because I don't even need suits with muscles in them.
No, you got your own muscles.
Yeah, I do. I drink protein drinks sometimes.
He does. He drinks protein drinks.
Like my dad.
God love you. You drink protein drinks like your dad. Oh, you got a cough? Here. Let's just sit up and talk about your protein drinks. What's your favorite protein drink? What's your favorite flavor of protein drink?
Vanilla.
You like vanilla protein drinks. And what did we have for breakfast this morning?
Creamy.
Do you remember? It was porridge.
Porridge.
And what did we put in our porridge? We're talking about it. High protein. We put some vanilla protein. We had high protein oatmeal or porridge, however you want to call it.
Protein.
Yeah, I love protein too. We had high protein oatmeal for breakfast, and we put apple and cinnamon in with it, and it was yummy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was really yummy. And what does protein do?
Give you big old muscles.
Gives you big old muscles. There. Now, so you're going to have lots of big muscles, aren't you?
Yeah, because I'm going to go downstairs and play.
You're going to go play? Okay.
Okay, bye.
All right. You have fun playing, and I'll come down and play with you after. Can you pull through the door? There, just haul through the door, and then Daddy will come down and play after his video chat. Now, we got a lesson of protein, and that's the truth. We had high protein oatmeal for breakfast. So he had his oatmeal with a scoop of vanilla whey protein, chopped up apple, and some cinnamon. And gotta say, it was delicious. That's one of the staples that we have for breakfast here at the Hayward household to start us off on the right track. All right, what were we talking about? Okay, Sean was asking about ammonia for max effort lifts. Again, I've never tried it personally, but I know a lot of power lifters who have done it. I mean, obviously they wouldn't do it if it didn't work, but I don't have any personal experience with it, so I can't really elaborate much more than that. Who else we got joining in? We've got Lee joining in. Steve is joining in. John's joining in. He says, do you need to break down muscle to rebuild it bigger? And are drop sets good for that? Yes, that is exactly the process of working out. You break down the muscle in the gym, and then through rest and recovery, you allow that muscle to build up stronger so that it can handle the stress. So when you're in the gym working out, this is a good clarification, because a lot of times people think, well, the more I work out, the bigger and stronger I'm going to get and the better results I'm going to get and all that. And it works to a degree, but you don't build muscle in the gym. When you're in the gym, you're actually tearing down the muscle. You're breaking it down. In fact, going to the gym is catabolic. It's breaking down muscle tissue, but it's providing the stimulus so that when you rest and recover, your body will actually grow stronger. To kind of give you an analogy, think of if you've ever built up like calluses on your hands, for example, right? You place stress and demands on certain pressure points, and then what happens? The skin builds up thicker and tougher and stronger so that it can handle the stress. The same applies in all situations. Like, for example, if you go out in the sun and you get a sunburn, right? Your skin actually starts to redden and it causes damage, but then when you recover, it actually develops a tan. So the skin gets darker and stronger so that it can actually handle the stress of the sun. Same applies with your muscles. When you place demands on them in the gym, you're breaking them down. You're providing stress, but that stress is the stimulation to signal to the body, hey, we need to get stronger. We need to be able to adapt to handle this. And then in the recovery process, that's when the growth actually happens. So work out, rest, recover, grow. Work out, rest, recover, grow. And if you try and work out too much and you shortchange the rest, recover, grow aspect, this is what's known as overtraining, where you're doing so much training, you're not allowing your body a chance to rest and recover. And you need to have it all in place. And a common mistake that a lot of people make is they actually do too much training, especially when they're eager and they're full of piss and vinegar and they're working out, 6 days a week thinking, hey, the more I work out, the better results I'm going to get. Not always. And from a strength and muscle building point of view, I've been through all these scenarios, especially when I was younger. I mean, I sometimes would spend like hours a day working out, thinking that, okay, the more I work out, the better I'm going to get, the bigger I'm going to get. And very often I just end up digging myself into a rut and I'd overtrain and I wasn't making nearly as good a progress as I should have been. I found from personal experience that 3 days a week or every other day is the ideal frequency for me to make my best progress. So work out one day, take the next day off, work out one day, take the next day off. And I find that allowing a full day of rest between each workout allows me to have that adequate time for recovery and growth so that I can approach the next workout feeling rested and strong and actually give it my best. And during those off days from weight training, it doesn't mean you have to do no exercise at all. Like this would be a good time to throw in some low intensity cardio or some other forms of activity, but you don't want to be placing stress and demands on the muscle like you would with high intensity weight training. So don't pair up high intensity weight training back to back to back because it's just going to break the body down. High intensity weight training, and then you want to do some sort of low intensity activity, whether that's a low intensity cardio session, maybe it's some sort of gentle active recovery work, maybe it's yoga or stretching or mobility work, something along those lines. But I refer to this variation as my yin and yang style of training, where I'm alternating the high intensity weight training one day and then the low intensity cardio or active recovery work the next. And I find by alternating this, it allows you to stay active and reap the benefits of regular exercise and build that habit of exercise into your routine, but you're not breaking your body down. You're actually working within your recovery system so that you can rest, recover, and grow in between workouts and optimize your progress. So yeah, that's definitely how the process works. And he had another question there. Are drop sets good for that? Drop sets are just another tool in the toolbox, I mean, to increase the intensity of your workouts. I mean, for a beginner, drop sets are not needed, but for someone who's more advanced, if you need to increase the intensity of a workout and provide more stimulation, then drop sets are just another way to do that. And all a drop set is basically performing as many repetitions as you can with good form with a given weight. And then once you get to the point where you can no longer perform another repetition with good form, lighten the weight and continue on. So it's just a way to extend the set. And I utilize them for some exercises, especially machine exercises. You know, if you're using a weight stack machine, that's an ideal time to use drop sets because it's easy to just drop the pin into a lighter weight and continue on if you want to extend the set. But I don't do it all the time because very often just straight sets to momentary muscular failure is more than enough to stimulate growth for the majority of people. Now, if you're really advanced and you want to push it, then you can incorporate high intensity training techniques, but use them sparingly, right? Consistency is more important than intensity. All right, moving on. We've got Josh joining in. He's saying, "What's up, Lee? Happy Friday." Happy Friday to you, Josh. All's going well here in my neck of the woods. Cheers. Having myself a cup of green tea. You can even see the tag there. Green tea with Lee. So that's the theme of the video chat. Let's see what else we got there. What's a good tip for getting a 300 bench and a 500-pound deadlift? If you're looking for some strength and power programs, one, if you can actually go to my website or just go to Google and search for Lee Hayward deadlift, and you should be able to find that, or go to leehayward.com and search for it. I actually have a deadlift program posted up on my blog. That's a good one that I've actually incorporated to improve deadlift. And as far as bench press, one of the best programs that I've ever used for this, I mean, it's an old school one, but it works just as well now as it did back in the day, is the Blast Your Bench program. And if you've been following my stuff for any length of time, you've probably seen the Blast Your Bench program. This is what I actually started with back in 1997 is when I put out the Blast Your Bench program. And that was kind of like my introduction to the internet. That was one of the first things that I've ever put online. And you got to think, back in 1997, that was the infancy of the internet. Like, there was the internet as we know it, because it only became legal to have a public internet like this back in 1996. So I launched my very first website and very first workout program in 1997, and that was actually the Blast Your Bench program. And that has been used by literally thousands of people since then, and it's basically a bench press specialization program. So again, that's available over on my website as well. So just go to my website, search for Blast Your Bench and Lee Hayward's 7-week deadlift program. Those are two great programs to help improve bench as well as deadlift. All right, let's see what else we got there. Marcus is saying, I lost strength since I was 27. I'm 37 now. Is that normal? That depends. I mean, if you don't use it, you lose it, as the old saying goes. So if you have not been prioritizing strength training, you're not going to continue to build it. And depending on numerous factors, I mean, if you've had any injuries over the years, that could impact your strength. I'm not as strong as I was when I was younger due to some injuries that I've had that have prevented me from lifting maximum weight. So I focus on other elements of fitness now that I'm older, and it's more about longevity and sustainability versus simply maximum strength. Like I really couldn't care less about hitting a new 1-rep max bench press or a new 1-rep max deadlift. Like, no offense to anybody who is. I mean, I went through that phase myself. I used to compete in powerlifting, and that was the main priority for me at one phase. But now it's a different ball game. Like, as you get older and as your body changes, your priorities change as well. And for me, it's all about health, fitness, longevity, and remaining injury-free. And maximizing strength is like a double-edged sword. I mean, yeah, it's cool to get stronger, but then if you push it too much, then you increase the risk of injury. So I'm kind of more in that sustainable phase myself. So I'm not as strong as I once was, and I really don't care, but I've improved my fitness in other areas. Like, my endurance is way better than it's ever been. I actually have more muscular endurance and more cardiovascular endurance than I ever have, because I've been prioritizing that. And I find prioritizing endurance training and flexibility, mobility training, and stuff like that is actually serving me better. It's more functional, and of course, it's better for heart health, great for keeping the weight in check. So that's my priority. But as far as strength, why you're losing it, we'd really need to dig deeper and see like what it is you're doing. What specific areas of strength do you feel you're struggling with, and why is that? I mean, it could be from overtraining, it could be from undertraining, it could be from injuries. Who knows? I mean, that's kind of like a loaded question, and I really need to know more about it. I mean, if you want to chat in more detail about it, I mean, obviously feel free to elaborate on your question here in the chat, and we can try and discuss it here. Or you can just send me an email, right? You can email me personally through my email address, lee@leehayward.com. Or if we're friends on Facebook, send me a message through there and we can chat as well. And that applies for anybody watching this. I mean, if you want, friend me up on Facebook or send me a personal email and we can chat, offline, or still off camera, if you will. Chat one-on-one. All right, what else we got there? Let's see. Neil's joining in. What are your thoughts on elbow pain when doing curls and shoulder presses? It's probably elbow tendonitis, and I'm no stranger to this. I've had it multiple times over the years, and chances are you've strained some of the tendons, ligaments, something in the elbow. And what you really need to prioritize is avoid aggravating that injury any further. So if any particular movement causes pain or discomfort, don't do it. Find another exercise variation or another alternative that you can do instead. So in the case of dumbbell curls, or you just said curls, not necessarily dumbbell curls, but let's just say barbell curls cause pain, maybe try dumbbells. Dumbbells allow more freedom of movement with your hand and wrist positions, and it may not aggravate the pain as much. Maybe try cables, maybe try a bicep curl machine instead, and see if you can find a variation that allows you to perform a curl without aggravating the tendonitis. Another one that I find helpful as well, sometimes if regular curls cause problems, doing a hammer curl where your thumbs are facing up and you do your curls in that fashion is easier than when you do curls with the palms facing up. So sometimes I've worked around elbow tendonitis by utilizing hammer curls instead of regular curls. Bottom line, you need to try and focus on working the muscles and still getting the benefit without aggravating the pain. And you need to do that, because if you continue to inflame and aggravate the existing pain you have, you're never going to allow it to rest, recover, and heal. Same with the shoulder press, right? Try another variation. If barbell shoulder presses are causing pain, then maybe try a shoulder press machine. Maybe try a dumbbell press. You could also try lightening up the weight, and see if that makes a difference. And if it doesn't, then leave that exercise out and just focus on other exercises that are going to work the same muscles. So, for example, in the case of shoulders, You don't have to shoulder press if that hurts. You can do other exercises. You can focus on lateral raises and shrugs and different things like that. I mean, you can do front raises, side raises, and rear delt flies, and basically still hit all three heads of the deltoids without doing a shoulder press. So you need to kind of find a way that you can work around it, still train the muscle without aggravating the injury any further. I've got some videos covering elbow pain and shoulder. So like, just if for my videos on shoulder, like just go type in YouTube Lee Hayward, rotator cuff, or Lee Hayward shoulder pain. Same thing with elbows, Lee Hayward tennis elbow or elbow tendonitis, and you should see some of the videos. I've done several videos over the years because, again, it's something that I've been plagued with. Usually comes about from lifting too heavy, right? When you strain yourself and you put a lot of strain on the joints, tendons, and ligaments, eventually something's going to give, right? And that's usually one of the side effects of it, is the aches and pains, especially in the tendonitis. We have Motez joining in. Dario's joining in. Dario's got an interesting question. Why are fit people on YouTube so much stronger than fit people at the gym? All right. I'm going to, first off, I don't have any examples of this or whatever. I mean, like, you didn't, any more specific than just, hey, people on YouTube are stronger than people at the gym. Maybe they really are. Who knows, right? I mean, if somebody has a YouTube channel and they're out there putting themselves, on the, maybe they are just have a genetic gift for this, and that's why they're popular on YouTube. I mean, like, you look at any sport or athletic, the people who rise to the top are the ones who are genetically geared towards that. So the top of any sport, like the top cyclists, they're genetically built to be cyclists. The top marathon runners are genetically built to be marathon runners. The top basketball players are genetically built to be good basketball players. So genetics play a huge role. But when we just scrape up that to the side and look at what's going on, if someone is showing a workout video on YouTube, one, they're going to probably be lifting heavier for the camera, and they're going to be showing themselves at their absolute best. They're not going to be showing their regular workouts, or they're not going to show themselves having a bad day or anything like that. They're going to show their highlight reel. And this applies to social media in general. When you see social media, whether it's fitness or any other aspect, people post their highlight reel. They're not showing their downtime and their day-to-day grind and, when things are not going well. Like, people don't post when things are not going well. They're showing the highlight reel. So if you're comparing your day-to-day, your normal grind, and what you see other people in the gym, their normal grind, compared to some fitness influencers' highlight reel, yeah, there's going to be a disconnect. But vice versa, the fitness influencers on YouTube, they're going to have bad days as well. They're not always going to be in there hitting PRs and smashing big weights and everything else. They're going to have some down days, some days when they're overtrained, when they're tired, when they're exhausted, when they can't, hit those numbers. But they're not going to post those videos because they want to make themselves look larger than life, right? They're only going to show the best of the best, right? They're not going to be showing them when they're not at their best. That applies to pictures. Like, you'll never see fitness influencers showing pictures when they're fat and out of shape. They're only going to be showing their perfect picture when they look their absolute best. And then even then, it's probably doctored up with Instagram filters and Photoshop and whatever else to make them look even better, and making sure they get the perfect lighting and all that stuff. So that's why you see the difference between the internet celebrity, if you will, and the average person you see in the gym. The people on the internet, they're always showing the best of the best in the highlight reel. And a lot of times, like, if you're looking at pictures and stuff, with all the filters and the editing that goes into it, and of course making sure they got the perfect lighting, the perfect pump, and everything's spot on, sometimes the people themselves don't even look as good as they do in their pictures, right? So you got to take that into consideration as well. It's glamorized, put it that way. It's glamorized, and that's why you watch a YouTube video and say, well, geez, how come these guys are so strong? Well, you're seeing the highlight reel. All right, moving on. We have Josh is saying, do you have a list of must-haves for a proper home gym, or better yet, what would be your ideal home gym? All right. It really depends on what you have, like for budget wise, space wise, and what it is that you're trying to achieve. Now, in my situation, I consider I got a pretty good home gym set up, and I'll just share what I've got. I've got a power rack with a cable pulley set up. So in my power rack, there's a pull-up bar on the power rack for one, and then in the front of the power rack, there's a pulley on each side. So there's a high pulley and a low pulley on each side of the power rack. So I can do like cable crossovers, and I can do all kinds of cable exercises like tricep push downs, low pulley work, stuff like that from the cable pulleys. And I really like that setup because there's a lot of things you can do with cable pulley exercises. So that's a really good thing to have. Something for the legs, like a leg curl, leg extension attachment on the end of a bench, even if it's a plate loaded one, that would be ideal because with home gyms, there's not a lot you can do for legs. So leg curl, leg extension is a very inexpensive and awesome tool to have for a home gym to add some variety for leg workouts. If you have a lat pull down station, or if you can set up lat pull downs from a high pulley cable, that's another good one to have. A bench, of course, you want to have an adjustable bench, one that can go ideally at least flat incline and vertical. But if you have a bench that can also go decline, that would be awesome as well, because there's a lot of cool decline bench exercises, as from abdominal work and things like that you can utilize from a decline bench. Some sort of cardio would be ideal, whether that's a treadmill, elliptical, a stepper, a bike, or whatever. In my case, I've got a stationary bike, which is basically my road bike set up on an indoor trainer, so I can utilize it inside. And I also have a rowing machine. I used to have an elliptical machine, and I had it for over 20 years, or not quite 20 years. I had it for 18 years. 18 years I had the elliptical machine, but it finally broke last year. I utilized the elliptical so much that the axle in the middle cracked off. So, I mean, just think of 18 years of revolutions in that elliptical, because I utilized that for like all the years when I was getting ready for bodybuilding shows. Like that was one of my main sources of cardio. So, I mean, it was a darn good elliptical machine at the time, but I finally put enough miles on it that one day I was just using it, right? I mean, there was a few creaks and squeaks in it, but it still worked. And then I was just going along on the elliptical machine. Then all of a sudden, clunk, right? Just one side of the machine just fell off. And then I looked in and the axle had literally just snapped off on the elliptical. And I said, it's so old, it's not even worth to try and fix it. So I scrapped the elliptical and I ended up getting a rowing machine instead. So I've got a rower. It's the one that I have. It's a Nordic track rowing machine. And I also have the stationary bike set up. So that's my cardio for at home, and along with the weight training equipment. And that's the basis for my home gym. Some other things that are nice to have, rubber resistance bands are awesome, especially if you don't have access to cables. Rubber resistance bands is the next best thing. It's very inexpensive and very versatile. You can duplicate a lot of machine exercises with resistance bands. Dumbbells, another must-have, whether that's adjustable dumbbells or power block or Bowflex style dumbbells where you can adjust the weight fairly easily. Those are really nice to have. In my case, I've got a set of power blocks that are big dumbbells that go up to 120 pounds. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not lifting 120 pounds very darn often. That's more than enough for me. That's way beyond my needs at this stage of the game, but they go up to 120 pounds. And then for the smaller exercises, I've got some hex dumbbells, the solid hex shaped dumbbells. And I like that for isolation exercises, because one of the drawbacks to the big power blocks, the big square, like weight stack dumbbells, if you will, is they're kind of cumbersome for some small isolation exercises. And I like the smaller hex dumbbells for isolation work because it's just more convenient. But dumbbells, barbells, power rack, bench, cable pulley, leg extension, leg curl, some sort of cardio. I mean, if you got those, you pretty much have yourself covered. Like it's nice to have the variety of gym equipment and the convenience, but if you have that, then hey, you can certainly get everything you need to do at home. And a lot of my coaching students, like guys who are going through the Muscle After 40 blueprint, they work out from home. They got a basement home gym, and they've made some amazing transformations, especially over the last couple of years, where the gyms have kind of been hit and miss depending on where you live in the world. I know some places there was no shutdown, other places there's been massive shutdowns. And in today's world, I think a home gym is a must-have. Right, moving forward, it's certainly something that I wouldn't go without it. Right, and in my case, I like to have a good home gym as well as a gym membership. Now, I know some people may think that's overkill, but I look at it as stacking the deck in my favor, right? Because if I'm super busy and I can't make it to the gym, or if there's another lockdown and there's no gym, I can still work out at home. And vice versa, I can still go to the gym and take advantage of the quality machines that they have there. So I utilize both. I utilize my home gym as well as my the gym membership. And I'd say it's about 50-50 split for me of home gym workouts and commercial gym workouts. All right, so that's my rundown on home gym. And again, if you do have any questions or want more clarification on it, just let me know. Send me an email and we can chat. Motaz says, I think Elliott Hulse uses ammonia, and he probably does, or probably has, because I know he's a competitive strongman, and he's probably done it when pushing the limits. Again, ammonia is like, again, I've never ever used it, and I've competed in powerlifting, but I know, like, if somebody's trying to get the 100% max effort, hit an all-time best PR, then they kind of pull out all the stops, and that's when they would use something along those lines. But for the average Joe who's just working out to try and get in shape, like, you don't need anything like that. You don't need to go 110%. Steve is saying, I've tried your recipe for protein coffee, but can't drink coffee anymore. You think it would work with tea? I've never tried it, and I don't know. I mean, it might. The only thing is you want to make sure the tea is not too hot, because depending on how you make your tea tends to be quite hot, especially if you just boil the water and make it. You got to let it cool, because if you add protein powder to very hot water, it's going to curdle. Now, it doesn't make the protein useless, but it doesn't make it taste good when it curdles up. So you want to make sure that it's cool, but you could try it. I mean, I know there's all kinds of different funky flavored teas. Like, you can get, it might be all right, but I've never tried it personally, so I can't speak from experience. But I know protein coffee, I like the flavor of that. Like, mix vanilla protein in with coffee, kind of has like a French vanilla cappuccino type taste. If you mix chocolate protein in with coffee, kind of has like a cafe mocha type of taste. I don't know what it would be like with tea, but might be like some vanilla chai tea latte or something like that. I don't know. It might still be pretty good, but I've never used it myself, so I can't really comment from personal experience. We have Underdog TV joining in, saying, good muscle building meals on a budget. I've eaten chicken and rice the last 2 days, but I would love some variety as well. All right. Muscle building meals on a budget. Eating healthy doesn't have to be expensive. And in fact, a lot of times it can actually be cheaper than eating quote unquote normal, right? Like, I've seen a lot of people say, oh, I can't afford to eat healthy. And then next thing you know, like, they're eating, over at McDonald's every other day, and they're ordering pizza, and like, that stuff adds up. Like, I mean, it doesn't seem like much in the moment, but like, that adds up. You do that, like, go to McDonald's and spend like $15-20 for a meal, or order a pizza, and next thing you know, you got $25 or whatever for a pizza. I mean, you can buy a lot of real food and prepare it yourself for that kind of money. So, if you just be smart about it and actually shop and prepare your own food, you can actually get some really good food, and it doesn't have to be super expensive. I mean, some good quality staples. First off, when you're looking at complex carbohydrates, you can get such an abundance of good quality carbs for pennies on the dollar. Like oatmeal, buy big bulk bags of oatmeal. It's cheap. Bulk bags of rice, big bags of potatoes, pasta, things like that. I mean, that stuff is cheap, and you can buy it in bulk, and it's going to last a long time. So that could be some good quality staples right there. Protein powder, like whey protein, is generally cheaper on a gram for gram basis than most high protein food, at least in North America. Now, if depending on where you live, like, I've talked to people who live in different parts of the world where supplements are not readily available. And of course they can get, protein food like meat, chicken, fish, things like that much cheaper than supplements, which have to be imported. So it all depends. But in North America, more often than not, you can buy like a big old 5-pounder of whey protein. And if you work it out on a gram for gram basis, it's going to be cheaper than the chicken, meat, and fish and whatever that you buy at the grocery store on a gram for gram basis. Now, where a lot of people get confused and think protein powder is expensive is because they go buy that 5-pounder of whey protein and it's like 50 or 60 bucks or whatever it is. And I think, holy shit, 50, 60 bucks for protein. I can buy a steak for $5, right? The steak is so much cheaper. Yeah, well, the steak is one meal, right? Whereas that big old 5-pounder of protein, I mean, there's, a gazillion servings in that. So you got to look at it on a per serving basis, not just the dollar value per unit, right? So that's one thing that a lot of people misunderstand. And they think protein powder is expensive. And it's like, no, it's actually one of the cheapest sources of protein you can get. And it's so versatile because it's so quick and convenient. I mean, you can whip up a protein shake in the matter of like less than a minute. So I get a good chunk of my protein from protein powder. I mentioned it earlier, high protein oatmeal, that's my breakfast, like high protein blender smoothies, stuff like that. I mean, that's a great way to bump up your protein intake, and it's not that expensive. When it comes to vegetables and fruit, you can get better deals if you buy frozen versus fresh. Now, I like fresh and I also like frozen. It's kind of like 50-50. If you can get fresh fruit and veg when it's ripe and it's at its ideal time and it's in season and everything else, then hey, you can't beat fresh. I mean, it tastes better and everything else, but it's a lot more expensive. Whereas if you buy the frozen, generally speaking, the frozen fruits and vegetables are going to be a lot cheaper. So like buy a big bag of frozen strawberries versus, a pint of fresh strawberries, on a per serving basis, the frozen ones work out way cheaper. Same thing with just your vegetables. Like you can get a big bag of mixed vegetables. And if you were to buy the same vegetables fresh, it would be way more expensive. So if you're looking to save some money, look into the frozen food options when it comes to the vegetables, fruits and berries and things like that. And you can come away a lot cheaper. Those are some simple tips and staples for sure that you can look into. Another one, I mean, just be smart about your shopping. Like when you're buying your food, like when you're looking at the different types of food out there, for example, like steak, don't go buying the most expensive cut of steak. And very often the more expensive cuts of steak are actually the fattier cuts of steak. Now, yes, they taste good and they're more tender and everything else, but if you buy the leaner cuts, like for example, round steak versus T-bone steak, right? T-bone steak is way more expensive, but it's also way more fat. And if you look at round steak, it's way leaner and it's way cheaper. So just be more selective with your choices like that. What else is there? I mean, those are some basic staples. I mean, we could go on and on. I mean, we could make a whole, do an hour-long video chat just talking about this. But hopefully you got a few tips and strategies there that you can take away and start implementing. All right, we've got AJ joining in. Says, Lee, just like yourself, I train about 3 days a week. On my off days, would you recommend 7 to 10 minutes of HIIT workout, high intensity interval training workout? This includes jumping jacks, body weight squats, push-ups, ab work, and high knees. The problem with that, I mean, you might be able to do it and you might make progress with it, but you're doing high intensity weight training and then you're doing high intensity interval training. So it's high intensity and high intensity. So you're still working the same energy systems. You're still placing a lot of stress on the body because quite frankly, high intensity work, jumping jacks, body weight squats, push-ups, that's not easy. That's not gentle, easy exercise. That's hard exercise. Gentle, easy exercise is going for a walk. It's going for, a bicycle ride, something along those lines where you're not pushing yourself to failure. Like you hit the floor and rep out to push-ups to failure. Like that's intense. Going for a walk, that's low intensity. So I like to alternate the high intensity training one day and then the low intensity the next. But it really depends on you and your individual fitness level, what it is you're trying to achieve. So it's really a loaded question. And I was actually having this conversation with one of my coaching students today because he's adding to his workouts. He wants, like we designed a basic program for him. And now as his fitness level is improving, he's adding to the workouts. But the thing is, he's still making progress, meaning he's still seeing strength gains. He's feeling good. He's enjoying the workouts. He's retired and he has the time to do it. So he has a lot, like in the rest of his life, his stress levels are low. He's able to recover between those workouts, and he enjoys, doing frequent high intensity training sessions, and it's working for him. So as long as it's working, you can keep doing it. But you need to look at the bigger picture, because the only thing I'd be afraid of is combining like weight training and then high intensity interval work the next day. Is it could lead to overtraining, where you're just so much high intensity work that your body can't fully rest, recover, and grow from it. So my advice is, if you want to try it out, try it for a few weeks, see how you feel. If you're making progress, you're enjoying it, and you're seeing gains, keep doing it. But if you find that it starts to become too much, then you might want to swap out that high intensity work for some low intensity work. And that's what I personally do. Like high intensity one day, low intensity the next. And it's not always perfect, but I generally try to go by that. I don't like to have high intensity and high intensity multiple days in a row. Now, with that being said, you could have low intensity days multiple days in a row because your body can recover from it. But you just got to be careful, because overtraining and burning yourself out is a real thing, especially when you're consistent. Like if you're pushing it consistently day after day after day, you can burn yourself out. And then of course you get all the other drawbacks, like the aches and pains that can come into the joints, tendons, and ligaments from the repetitive movement strain, and it just your body's not fully rested and recovered, and then you're not maximizing the efficiency, and you're not maximizing the benefits of those workouts, because you're not able to train at the intensity needed because you're in an overtrained state. So my advice, if you want to try it, go for it and see how it works, but those are the things to watch out for. All right. Allie is joining in. Hey, Allie. Allie just came on board with the Muscle After 40 blueprint. Nice to see you tuning in for the video chat. Says, can I use creatine for weight loss and amino acids? Yes, Allie, you absolutely can. Creatine, it doesn't hinder fat loss, right? Like now, I'm going to explain how this works, because some people think, well, creatine is going to cause water retention and it's going to cause bloating and it's going to prevent me from losing weight and blah, blah, blah. No. What creatine does is it helps to pull water into the muscle cells, water and nutrients into the muscles. Now, our muscles are 75% water anyway. Creatine just helps to volumize the muscles, meaning it helps to pull water and nutrients into the muscles. This has no impact on your fat loss. Fat and muscle are two totally different bodily tissues. So if you start supplementing with creatine, like if you've never supplemented with creatine before, and then you started all of a sudden, you may see an initial temporary weight gain from it. And it's not a lot, but you might actually gain a few pounds because your body is pulling water and nutrients into the muscle cells, volumizing it. So in the short term, you may actually see the scale go up a little bit. Now, I don't really notice it anymore because I've been using creatine pretty consistently since the early 90s when it first hit the market as a supplement. But I remember back when I first started using creatine, and it was in 1995 when creatine really started to become mainstream, and I used it for the first time. And I've never supplemented with creatine before then because it wasn't available. But then when I started using it, I was like, whoa, man, I could actually feel this stuff working. And I did the old school loading phase and everything else. So it kind of hit me hard, if you will, right? It hit me hard, and I did notice, more fullness, more strength, and everything else. And that the muscle fullness and the strength that you get will help you to train harder, right? It'll help to push you so that you're getting more high intensity workouts. It'll also help aid with muscle recovery because you got more water and nutrients into the muscle cells. So they're able to not only train harder, but recover better. So it can help the process along, but it's actually beneficial because it'll help you to maintain muscle while you're losing body fat. So taking creatine while you're on a fat loss diet is actually a good thing to maintain your lean muscle and allow you to train hard and heavy while you're still in a calorie deficit. As for amino acids, this is another thing you can do. And again, it's going to help to increase your strength and energy, and it's also going to help to aid with recovery. It's not a must-have, but it's a nice-have, right? Because you can still make gains without creatine and without amino acids, right? As long as you're exercising and you're eating right and you're doing that consistently, you can still make progress. But this is like icing on the cake, right? They can certainly help the process along. And the thing I like about amino acids is they're very rapidly absorbed. So amino acids is just fast digesting protein. Think of it that way. Like protein, when it's broken down and digested into the body, it's amino acids. It gets broken down into amino acids, and that's what your body actually uses for growth and repair of all the muscles and tissues in the body. Like everything in your body is basically made up of amino acids. So when you eat a chicken breast, your body has to break that down, digest it, and that could take hours for the body to break down that chicken breast to the point where it's at, utilizable amino acids that it can actually use then for building muscle and recovery and growth and all the bodily functions that your body needs. An amino acid powder or amino acid supplement, it's already broken down to its most basic element. So it skips the breakdown and digestion process, and it gets rapidly absorbed. So, when you consume amino acids, that can actually be into your system and utilized by the body within 20 minutes. Whereas if you eat a chicken breast, that could take hours. So when you're in the gym training and you're breaking down your muscle tissue, right? You're in the gym and you're placing the stress and demands on the body and you're breaking it down. This is when amino acids can really help, because if you have that rapidly absorbing amino acids, then they can go right to work helping to repair and rebuild your muscle tissue as it's being broken down in the gym. So in my case, I will use amino acids while I'm training. So high intensity weight training, I take amino acids. If I'm doing high intensity cardio, I take amino acids. So in my case, like if I go for a big bike ride, I'm going to have amino acids mixed up in my water bottle. When I go to the gym and I'm training, I got amino acids mixed up in my water bottle, and I just drink it throughout my workout. And these days, most amino acid supplements, they're a flavored drink mix, so it's actually quite enjoyable to drink, and it just makes the whole drinking water process more enjoyable, and it gets the anabolic benefits of the amino acid supplement in there as well. So yeah, absolutely. You can certainly utilize that, and that will not have any impact on your fat loss. It'll help to build muscle and maintain your lean muscle as you're losing body fat. All righty, let's see what else we've got there. So we have Eric's joining in. We have Robert joining in. Robert saying, I work from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. How would you implement resistance and cardio workouts into days like that? Holy, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. So that's a 14-hour work day. That's insane. Monday to Friday. Well, that's going to be a challenge any way you slice it. Now, in that situation, I'd like to know, like, what is it that you're doing for work? Are you working from home? Are you working at an office? What are you doing? What do you have available? What's that schedule and flexibility like? Because what I would look into in that situation is, where could we fit in mini bursts of exercise throughout your day, right? Mini sessions. And this is something that I did personally, and I wrote a blog post of it up on my website. In fact, I think if you go to my website now, leehayward.com, it's probably the first blog post that's there at this moment. It's no time to exercise, start with 10 minutes. And it literally goes into detail explaining how I utilized 10-minute workouts to get back in shape and lose my dad bod after my son Harvey was born. Because if you're familiar with my situation, like, I'm a former competitive bodybuilder, and before Harvey came around, I had time to work out, right? I had a lot more time than I do now. If you're a busy parent, you can relate to this yourself, right? You don't have responsibility of kids. You have more time in your schedule. It's easier to fit time into the gym. When he came around, it wasn't the same thing. Like, everything had to be planned and structured. And of course, you got the new responsibility of looking after a newborn baby, waking up in the middle of the night to diapers and bottle feedings and all that kind of stuff. So I wasn't sleeping good throughout the night. So, that hindered my energy, plus all the extra responsibilities. I never had the time to just pick it up and, shag off to the gym for a couple hours every single day. So I got to the point where I let myself go, and I got the dad bod pretty quick. I gained fat, and I was like looking at myself and like, what the heck's going on here? Like, here I am. I know what to do intellectually. I'm a former competitive bodybuilder. I'm former provincial champion. Like, I've done it. I know what to do, but I'm not doing it, and I'm too exhausted and too lazy to do it. Like, what the hell? So I was really struggling with this, but I came up with the idea of doing mini workouts and give myself permission to do mini workouts, because I had a mental block thinking that if I couldn't work out for at least an hour, then I don't have time to work out. But there was a lot of times throughout my day where, okay, I didn't have an hour to spend, but hey, I got 10 minutes, I got 20 minutes, I got these little blocks of time, like maybe in between appointments, I got 10 or 20 minutes that I could use. And instead of just sitting on your duff or scrolling through your phone or twiddling your thumbs, right, I would utilize those little blocks of time for exercise. So, I mean, if I had 10 minutes to spare, hey, I'll haul on my sneakers and I'll go for a 10-minute walk. All right, I'll walk up the street for 5 minutes, turn around, walk back down. I just got 10 minutes of cardio in. Or maybe I would, hit the floor and just do some push-ups and some body weight squats and maybe some ab work and just do a little circuit for 10 minutes. I mean, if you think you can't get a good workout in 10 minutes, like, just try this. Do a set of push-ups, do a set of squats, and alternate that back and forth for 10 minutes, right? Push-ups and squats. If you have to, like, you can rest 30 seconds in between sets or something like that, but just do that nonstop for 10 minutes. And I'm telling you, I don't care who you are or how good a shape you're in, that will whip anybody's ass. Like, you will be exhausted if you just alternate push-ups, squats, push-ups, squats, push-ups, squats for 10 minutes straight. You will get an amazing workout, and you're like, what the heck just happened? And it took 10 minutes. And everybody's got 10 minutes, right? I mean, I don't care who you are. I mean, like, take 10 minutes less sleep each night, right? Like, you can make it work with little blocks of time. And this is what I did to get myself back in shape, is I utilized little blocks of time. Instead of having, a 1 or 2 hour dedicated window to go to the gym, I utilized little mini blocks of time and having these 10-minute workouts. And that's what allowed me to really start building that momentum. And the crazy thing is the more you do it, then the more you're going to prioritize it, the more you're going to feel better. And then next thing you know, that stretched into longer and more productive workout sessions. But it started with 10 minutes. So again, if you want more information about it, head on over to my website, leehayward.com, and it's the first blog post there. All right, you should read that. That'll really help give you some strategies on how you can start making progress, even if you're really, on a tight schedule. All right, moving on. We got, let's see what else we got. AJ's joining in. We've got Samuel joining in. What's your thoughts on the Liver King coach? Somebody told me about this guy, Liver King coach. I don't know who he is or really followed him, but I have no thoughts other than somebody mentioned his name before. I think it was one of my coaching students said they heard this Liver King guy. Yeah, no offense to Mr. Liver King. I just haven't followed him. So I have no comments or feedback because I don't really know who he is other than a few people mentioning him. I guess I'll have to look him up after this video chat. David says, 69 years old, still doing powerlifting, but then again, I'm insane. Congratulations. If you're making progress, you're enjoying it, hey, keep going for it. Go for it. No problem there, right? The main thing is if you're enjoying it and it's working for you, keep doing it, right? Do what you enjoy, right? This is a lifestyle and it should be enjoyable. Eric's joining in saying, what is an easy way to make food that my partner and I can have together? We have different eating habits now, and I feel this eating method affects our relationship. She loves pasta for every meal. Every meal. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, pasta. Well, I mean, technically you can make pasta work even if you're on a fat loss program. It's just you got to control the portions, because pasta, it's very calorie dense. It's very easy to overeat. And for the calories consumed, it's not really satiating unless you eat large portions. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, if you were to eat 50 grams of carbohydrates from sweet potato versus 50 grams of carbohydrates from pasta, you would feel so much fuller and more satiated and stuffed with 50 carbs from sweet potato versus 50 carbs from pasta. Especially if you're putting pasta sauce on the pasta, that makes it even smaller in portion. So the secret to this, if you want to really have a sustainable fat loss program where you're in a calorie deficit and enjoying it, is try and find ways on how you can eat higher volume, nutrient dense foods that are low in calories, so that you get that eating satiation, that fullness, and you kind of trick your body into thinking you're eating a lot of food when in reality it's not a lot of calories. And this is where most people go wrong and why most people are overweight, is because they're doing the complete opposite. They're eating high calorie dense foods, low nutrient dense foods that you eat so much of them and that they put you in a calorie surplus and you still don't feel satisfied. Like I'll give you an example. Like if you eat a bag of potato chips, right? You could eat the whole bag, and I'm sure probably everybody watching this video has at one time or another eaten a whole bag of chips. Maybe some of you have eaten a whole bag of chips today. I don't know. But you can eat a whole bag of chips and then still not feel satisfied afterwards. Even though you just ate a massive amount of calories, you don't feel full and satiated. Whereas if you had like a big bag of kale salad, like how many people sit down and eat a full bag of kale salad? Probably not that many. But if you did, you would be full. You'd be stuffed because it's so much volume, but the calorie density is so low. Right. And I mean, it's little things like that that can make a difference. Finding ways how you can eat more volume so that you fill up and you feel satiated without the excess calories. Now, in your case there with your partner, don't try and force your eating habits on somebody else. And this is something I've learned the hard way. You can't change somebody unless they want to change. All right. So you take care of yourself. You do what you want to do. And then just kind of let your habits rub off on people, but don't physically try and force somebody to change. I used to do this. This was a mistake I made back in my early days, especially when I was, a new personal trainer. I mean, I was trying to be the hero to everybody in my family, right? Anybody who was struggling with their health and fitness or overweight and everything else, I was like, hey, I'll come in and save the day, right? I'm superhero leaf, all full of piss and vinegar. Right. I'll get you in shape. I'll get you on a program. And I was constantly preaching fitness and nutrition and stuff. And it just pissed people off, because if somebody's not willing or ready to accept it and change, you can't force somebody to change. You can only help somebody do what they already want to do. So if your partner doesn't want to follow your eating habits or your exercise routine or whatever, then you've got to learn to make some compromises and focus on doing your thing and let her do her thing, right? Like you can't force that onto somebody else. Ironically, once you start making changes and you start seeing results, and then your partner also sees the changes happening in you, that will motivate them to want to change as well. But there's a lag time. It's not like, hey, you change today, they change tomorrow. No, this could take months, but it will gradually change. And I use myself and my wife as a prime example. Like when I started going through my fit over 40, get back in shape, lose the dad bod transformation, I didn't try and force my habits on anybody. I was like, hey, I'm going to do it for me, right? I'm going to eat my meals. I'm going to do my exercise. I'm going to do my little 10-minute workouts, and I'm going to clean up my eating and make some changes. But I didn't try and force it on anybody else. I mean, right? If she wanted to eat her stuff, then she could eat her stuff. If she wanted to order a pizza, hey, go ahead, go order the pizza. I don't care. I'm going to do my thing. But slowly but surely, as I started to trim down and lose weight and get in shape, then she was like, hey, he's getting leaner, he's getting better, and I'm not, right? So there was a bit of a disconnect. And then gradually she started to come on board. So now she's eating better. She's exercising more. Like now we even go to the gym together. We work out together on a regular basis. So like she's gradually coming on board with my habits, even though I did not ask her, did not try and force her or anything like that. It's just she sees the results that I'm getting, and it makes her envious, and she wants to see the results for herself, right? So you kind of use that. Like you get in your shape, and then let that help motivate and inspire other people. Don't try and go out and push your habits or lifestyle on anybody else. Because if you do, it just creates controversy, and very often it'll piss them off and push them away, right? If somebody does, like when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, right? Don't try and be the teacher for someone who's not ready to be taught. And that's something I had to learn the hard way. So like even in my family, like I don't preach fitness nutrition to anybody. Like we go out to a family dinner or get together or social gathering, I don't even talk about fitness and nutrition. Like if somebody wants to get shit-faced drunk and eat junk food, I don't say a word. I don't care. I mean, I do care because I know it's not good for them, but like I'm not going to go in there and try and save the day. I'm just, hey, do whatever the hell you want to do, right? I'm going to do my thing, you do your thing. But if somebody comes to me and actually asks my advice and wants some help, then I'll contribute and help them. But I'm not going to be the one to bring up the conversation, right? I just focus on doing my thing. And then if somebody's inspired by my results and wants to come on board, then hey, I'll help you, but I'm not going to try and force it on anybody. And that's I think that'll be a much easier way to go about the relationship. But to give you another practical strategy as well, and just you know, again, this isn't structured or scripted. I'm just rambling off the top of my head here, but hopefully you're getting some value from it. A simple way that you can help to improve eating habits, and this is something you can probably incorporate with the family, is think of ways where you can add in healthier food that they actually enjoy. Because chances are there's healthy foods that people enjoy, maybe fruits and vegetables or things like that. Maybe certain, high protein foods, whether it's, chicken, meat, fish, whatever. There are certain foods that they probably actually enjoy that are very healthy. Try and just eat more of the good stuff, especially more of the fruits and vegetables whenever possible. And by doing that, it naturally helps to squeeze out some of the bad stuff because you just prioritize and fill up on the good stuff. And this is one of the strategies that we use in the Muscle After 40 blueprint is instead of trying to focus on all the bad stuff that you're not allowed to eat, like, oh, you got to cut out this and you got to cut out that, and you're not allowed to eat pizza, you're not allowed to eat cookies, you're not allowed to eat chocolate, you're not allowed to eat ice cream, you're not allowed to eat this, don't even focus on that stuff, because where you focus is where your attention goes. So if you keep focusing on all the stuff you're not allowed to have, guess what happens? You want it even more because you're focusing on it, right? You're obsessing over the fact, oh, I'm not allowed to eat this. I'm not allowed to eat bread. I'm not allowed to eat pizza. I'm not allowed to eat ice cream. Oh, shit, I want bread, pizza, ice cream. And you start focusing on all the stuff you're not allowed to have. Instead, I say, like, how about we eat more fruits and vegetables? How about we eat more lean protein? How about we drink more water? Like, how about we fill up on the good stuff? And then by default, when you fill up on the good stuff, there's less room for the bad stuff. I'm not saying you can't have it, but when you fill up on the good stuff first, there's less room for it, and you actually crave it less because you're not focusing on it. And that's how I go about it. Like, I'll still eat some junk food from time to time, but when I do, it's always after I filled up on the good stuff first. So it's order of priority. So just try and prioritize the good stuff and minimize the bad stuff. And there's ways that you can probably make some healthier choices of the stuff that you already like without impacting the relationship, right? It doesn't have to be a boiled chicken and broccoli diet. You can make this work. All right. That was a long rant on that one. I'm going to move on and talk about something else and have a sip of tea while I'm at it. Okay. I don't know how to pronounce this next name because it's not in English, but I'm going to call you John. Lee, another huge underrated movement is the chest reverse grip. You mean the reverse grip bench press, I would assume. I'm not sure if that's a question, a statement, or what, but the reverse grip bench press. I've done it before. I've usually used it in the Smith machine when I have done it before because it helps to. I find it's easier to control, but yeah, the reverse grip bench press, I actually have a video. It's several years old, but if you do a search for Lee Hayward reverse grip bench press, you'll find that one on YouTube. Okay. See what else we got there. Did I miss something? Okay. No, I didn't. All right, just people chatting, commenting back and forth. That's cool. Who's your favorite bodybuilder in history and favorite boxer in history? I've got a couple. And I'll explain why. One, we're going to have to got to throw Arnold in there. I mean, I don't think anybody who's involved with bodybuilding has not been inspired by Arnold, at least to some degree. And in my situation, as it is probably for many people, especially if you're in my age group, if you're in the 40 plus category, Arnold was the first human being that I seen with muscles. Before then, it was all cartoon Superman and the Incredible Hulk, and not the Lou Ferrigno Incredible Hulk, but I mean the cartoon Incredible Hulk and stuff like that. But for me, seeing Arnold Schwarzenegger was the first time I actually seen a bodybuilder, and I was on TV, but that was the first time I ever seen a real life person with muscle. And I was like, holy shit, that had such a huge impact on me. And it was back when Conan the Barbarian came out, right? That back in '83 or whenever it was. I'm not sure what year it was. It was back in the early '80s when Conan the Barbarian came out, and I seen that movie. Not, I mean, I was only a young kid at the time, but why a parent would let their child watch a movie about a barbarian, but so be it. We did, right? I remember seeing Conan the Barbarian back in the early '80s, and I was just like, holy shit. Like, I was blown away by, like, this is a real person with muscle. And that was the first time I ever seen that. And that just had such a huge impact on me to see that. So Arnold, for sure, one of my favorite bodybuilders. And then of course, as I grew up, I got Arnold's Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding, and of course, every muscle magazine, it's like every other month they got Arnold on the cover and stuff like that, and watch Pumping Iron till the tape wore out and stuff like that. So I mean, I was certainly influenced by Arnold. There's no doubt about it. So got to put him in there. But in my competitive bodybuilding days, like in the mid '90s. When Dorian Yates was reigning Mr. Olympia, I was really inspired by him, and I just liked his attitude and his no nonsense, just very straight to the point, logical approach to training. And I was very inspired a lot by Dorian. Still have huge respect for Dorian now, but a few things that I would do differently from what Dorian did. Like I mimicked my training a lot off Dorian's back in the day, the whole high intensity training to failure and beyond, that type of stuff. Nowadays, I'm not such an advocate of training to failure and beyond because I know the risk of those injuries that can come about from it. And I've had my share of injuries. I mean, Dorian's been riddled with injuries over the years, torn muscles numerous times. So it's like a double-edged sword. Yes, it's effective when it works, but you're like walking a tightrope. When you go off the edge, you can easily snap, tear, injure something. And then if you get injured, then that's a major setback. So now I take a much more conservative approach of being good enough, but good enough consistently versus going all out and risking that injury. Because I've mentioned this before, and I'll say it again. There's nothing that will hinder your progress more than getting injured. In fact, there's nothing that will actually set you back in the long term other than an injury or just quitting. Injuries are quitting, and usually an injury can lead to quitting. So those are the only two things that can hinder your progress. If you just say, screw it, F it, I'm not doing anything, and you quit, well, obviously that's going to hinder your progress. Or if you get injured or sick or some sort of setback like that, that's going to hinder your progress. But if you're good enough, but good enough consistently, you can still make progress. So for example, like if you cheat on your diet, is that going to hinder your progress? Not really, because you can always clean up your diet and start again tomorrow, right? You can pick up the pieces and move on. If you skip a workout, is that going to hinder your progress? Not really, because you can always start again, pick up the pieces and move on tomorrow. If you do an easy workout, is that going to hinder your progress? No, because you can always train harder the next day. Like all these little temporary setbacks. Oh, I cheated on my diet. Oh, I skipped this training session. Oh, I didn't go all out today. That's not going to set you back because you can always push it again tomorrow. But if you get injured, right, you go in there and you tear a pec, you're not picking it up the next day, right? You're in the hospital getting surgery and pec reattachment, and then you're laid up for weeks or months while that's rehabbing, and you're not doing anything, right? So an injury, you just can't, oh, I got hurt today, I'll start again tomorrow. No, an injury could be laid up for weeks, months, or who knows. Some cases you may never fully recover from it, depending on the degree and the type of injury. So that's why I'm such a huge advocate of injury prevention, because of everything that you can do, that's the only thing that's going to set you back, right? So injury prevention is the number one thing here. So that's the one thing that I don't like about the whole high intensity blood and gut style of training that Dorian followed. I mean, obviously it worked and it got him to multiple Mr. Olympias, but once you get the injuries, then think of the long-term consequences. I mean, another prime example, think of Ronnie Coleman. I mean, yeah, he became the best bodybuilder in the world, but I mean, now here he is. I mean, he's not that old, and the man's walking with crutches and popping painkillers like candy. So, I mean, you got to weigh, like, is the short-term fame worth the long-term pain? I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying it's a right or wrong, good or bad, but you got to look at it from those perspectives. What other question? You said, who's my favorite boxer? I've never really been a huge boxing fan. But hey, I mean, I've Muhammad Ali. I mean, I liked his cockiness and his his entertainment value for sure. Who else did Mike Tyson biting off Evander Holyfield's ear? I mean, those are some moments that stick out in my mind, but I'm not really a big boxing fan, or never was, other than, the mainstream stuff that you'd see. I never really followed it seriously. All right, moving on. We have Black Phoenix, the first fitness-related YouTuber I ever subscribed to. How are you? Keeping Lee look well. Thanks. Awesome. Glad to be one of the original YouTubers, right? That's awesome. Always nice to connect with people. And when I look back at it, man, it doesn't seem that long to me, but when you put things in perspective, I've been doing this for a while, right? Started my website back in 97, started YouTube when YouTube started back in 2006. And I mean, it doesn't, like, in the greater scheme of things, that's not that long ago, but in internet years, like that's prehistoric dinosaur age. We got RC joining in. He says, I took your advice last week and ordered a lat pull down machine with low row attachments to add to my rack. The rack lat pull down costs about $3,000. Not cheap, but so worth it. It all depends on where you get it and what you get and everything else. But I agree. Gym equipment is not cheap, but look at it as this is an investment in you, your health, and your fitness. I've invested a lot into my home gym and in gym memberships and everything else over the years. Put it this way, there's a lot worse things you could spend your money on. That's not going to give you the return on investment and the health benefits that the home gym will certainly give you. So I respect that. Good for you. Main thing is, now you've invested the money. You've got the skin in the game now. Utilize it. Get the return on investment by actually utilizing that now and reaping the results. Dual arm cable crossover leg extension leg curl combined linear hack squat machine. That's my set. Good stuff. So that's from Black Phoenix saying what he's got for his home gym. Sounds like a good setup for sure. I'm assuming there's a power rack or some sort of squat rack in there, maybe with the cable machines. All right. Someone's replying saying protein powder in Thailand is expensive. Yeah, it probably is. And in places like Thailand, you could probably get, solid food protein. Again, your chicken, meat, eggs, fish, things of that nature could quite possibly be a lot cheaper than protein powder. So when I was referring earlier to the bodybuilding diet on a budget, no, it depends on where you live, right? Because food prices, supplement prices, it varies greatly depending on what part of the world you're in. There is a YouTuber called Iron Wolf. Why do you not make collabs with him and share both your knowledge? I don't know who Iron Wolf is. There's a lot of YouTubers out there. There's thousands, millions. I don't know how many. Well, I don't know if there's millions, but there's hundreds, and if not, maybe thousands. I don't know who Iron Wolf is. If he wants to come to Newfoundland and make a collab, more power to him. Or if I happen to travel to wherever he lives, I've never looked him up, so I'll have to do so. We have Rafts joining in. He says, Lee, what's a good supplement to take to get rid of soreness after a workout? You want to prevent the soreness or minimize it the best you can. And this would go back to one of our previous questions that we had. The amino acid supplement. Amino acids would help speed up the recovery and growth process because you would actually be providing the raw materials that your body needs as rapidly as possible when it needs it. So while you're in the gym training and breaking down the muscles, supplementing with amino acids during the workout itself, you would be literally providing the raw materials to start that whole recovery and growth process. And then the faster you can recover, the faster you're going to get rid of the muscle soreness, and the faster you're going to start making some progress. So that would be one for sure. But the thing you need to realize about muscle soreness is it's only a temporary thing. You're going through a transition phase of your body adapting to new training stimulation. Because once you adapt to a program or adapt to an exercise, you're not going to get as sore afterwards. Like the people who are in really good shape, like athletes and bodybuilders and people who are very consistent with their training, they're not getting painfully sore after most training sessions, unless they go over and above and they do something that's a total shocker to their system. But when they're doing their regular day-to-day training, it's not leaving them painfully sore afterwards. I mean, they might have a little bit of fatigue and, a little bit of, like they can tell they worked out the day before, but it's not going to be painful to the point where they can't function. It's usually only beginners and people who are deconditioned who get painfully sore. And you see this all the time. Like somebody starts working out for the first time and then they can't move the next day. Like, oh my God, everything hurts, right? I got muscles I didn't know I had, blah, blah, blah. Or, so a beginner trains legs and they can't walk up a flight of stairs the next day because their legs are so sore. Or they train shoulders and now they can't raise their arm to brush their teeth the next day because their shoulders are so sore. Like that's only beginners and people who are deconditioned and out of shape who get that degree of painful soreness. But for people who are in good shape, you don't get that soreness because your body can handle the volume, handle the workload and the work capacity, and it can recover so much quicker. So the better shape you get in, the less muscle soreness you'll experience. But again, to answer your question about supplements, you want to deal with it as soon as possible. So amino acids would certainly be one to help with that. And also just quality nutrition in general, but that would be a big one. Okay, Bluto says, creatine keeps me up all night running back and forth to the restroom. As you start taking it, if you're new to creatine and it's, you're drinking more water and everything else, it may cause you to, cause some inconsistencies in your urination patterns until your body adapts to it. One thing that could certainly help with this is, one, don't go through the whole loading phase with creatine. Like loading for creatine is kind of overkill and not necessary. I know a lot of companies recommend it and everything else. And yes, from a practical point of view, if you want to like jam the creatine in your system as fast as possible, yes, you can go through a loading phase, but you could literally just start with maintenance phase. Like literally just take 5 gram serving per day and then let it build up in your system gradually over time. And this way your body gets a chance to adapt to it without the shock of going from 0 creatine to like 30 grams of creatine a day, which is kind of like overkill and it's not needed. I would much rather do a maintenance dose and then let it slowly build up into your system over time. And then you can adapt to it without any of these drawbacks. Because sometimes when people load with creatine, it can cause, obviously you're up peeing more often and everything else. Sometimes it causes stomach upset. Sometimes it might cause, cramping and things like that. Because again, it's kind of a shock to your system. You're consuming something in high quantities that you've never taken before. It would be much better off to start with a low dose and then just let that build up into your system. And the way creatine works is once you have it in your system, then you only need to maintain it. That's why the maintenance dose works. Like you only need to keep your creatine levels at maintenance levels to reap all the benefits. Like more isn't better. It's almost like taking your vitamins. Like as long as you have adequate vitamins in your system to meet your body's needs, taking more isn't better, right? Like if you take a multivitamin every day to make sure you got your bases covered, like taking 10 per day isn't going to make you healthier or better. You just need to make sure that you have adequate, and then the excess is just that. It's just excess. So the same thing applies with creatine. You just need to make sure that you have enough to reap the benefits of it, and taking more beyond that really doesn't help. So 5 grams a day is like more than enough for most people. You could even technically go less than that. You can go into the 2 to 3 grams per day and still reap the benefits of it. 2 to 3 grams of supplementation, that is, because you're still going to get some creatine from the food sources. Like on average, if you're eating a mixed diet that includes animal protein, meat and fish and things like that, you're probably getting 1 to 2 grams of creatine just from dietary sources. So then if you're supplementing another few grams of creatine through supplemental sources, then you've got enough creatine there to reap the benefits of it. Okay, what else we got there? PK says, would you sponsor me? I'm 19. I've been training for 3 years naturally. I have a great physique. Any way you can mentor me to start competing? If yes, how can I reach you? Send me an email. We can chat. My email address is down in the description below, right? If you need some help or whatever, I mean, whether I help you or I can help to point you in the right direction to somebody who can, but just feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or you want to get in contact with me. We have Yog, Y-O-G. Thanks, Lee. You're welcome. Steve is saying, Arnold was my childhood hero and Bruce Lee. Yeah, we got to mention Bruce Lee. I'm a huge Bruce Lee fan. You know, I used to watch all his videos back in the day. I mean, who couldn't be inspired by watching like Enter the Dragon and some of those classics? There was well, I'm not sure if it was on Netflix or one of those shows, or was it on Prime? But there's a full series like called The Legend of Bruce Lee, and it's basically showing his whole life story. And it's a bit of a cheesy show. Like, I mean, the acting is cheesy and is dubbed over in English and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, it's cheddar cheese, but the story was really inspirational and interesting. And I watched it a while back. It was a whole, Netflix, or again, I can't remember if it's on Netflix or if it's on Prime or one of those shows. But anyways, the whole thing, I think, was The Legend of Bruce Lee, and a gazillion episodes right from his early days of wanting to learn martial arts right on up till the day he died. Right. So it was a pretty cool series. And, I mean, again, it's a show, so I guess it's based on a true story, but I found it super interesting. And I guess anybody who's a Bruce Lee fan would certainly enjoy it. What else we got there? Seth is joining in. Holy shit, I'm looking at the time there. We've been chatting for an hour and 20 minutes. At the start of the chat, I said I'm going to go for an hour-ish, right? I usually try and cut it at an hour, but man, I just sometimes lose track of time when I'm doing these things. Anyway, I'll clue it up, because my goodness, I got the gift of gab when I get going. Seth is saying, is there a difference between a IIFYM style diet or a keto style diet as far as body composition goes, as long as you keep your calories and protein levels in check? Okay, great question. If it fits your macros or a keto diet, I'm not a fan of keto. All right, I'm just going to put it out there. Can it work? Yes, it can work. Is it sustainable? Is it healthy? Is it something you want to live for the rest of your life? Probably not. All right. Now, I know there's some diehard keto people out there who swear by it and say, oh, I did keto and it works and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And more power to you. I mean, if it's working for you, you enjoy it and you're getting results, then hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Keep going. But personally, I'm not a fan of keto, and I don't think it's the healthiest way to eat, because you look at keto, like, you're eating all this fat. I mean, a lot of processed fat. Like, people are eating bacon and eggs and sausages and cheese and cream and stuff that normally would people say like that is pure junk. And then keto people, I'm on a diet, right? Yeah, load up on the right. I'm going to stuff myself with cheeseburgers without the bun, right? I'm going to eat bacon, eggs, and sausages for breakfast every morning, right? And like, you're loading yourself up with all this fat and cholesterol and everything else. And okay, even if you achieve a calorie deficit and all that, and it works from a fat loss point of view, from a blood lipid point of view, it's not the most healthiest. And one of my coaching students, his name is Mike, he went through a phase of doing a keto diet and lost a shit ton of weight. I mean, the guy got visible abs going through keto. But then when he got his blood work done, his cholesterol was through the freaking roof. His energy levels were like, it's not a sustainable lifestyle approach. His energy levels weren't consistent. He wasn't able to build muscle. He didn't feel strong or healthy. I mean, even though he lost the fat, it wasn't a healthy approach. So then he came on board with the Muscle After 40 blueprint, and now we got him on a sustainable, well-balanced eating plan where a third of your calories come from protein, 30 of your calories come from quality carbohydrates, and a third from healthy fat. And we focus on filling up on natural, unprocessed foods, getting lots of fruits and vegetables in there, lots of fiber and roughage to clean out the gunk. And now his cholesterol levels are back into the normal range. His strength and energy levels are improved. He's making gains in the gym. He's actually building lean muscle and getting stronger into his 50s. And he's living a much healthier lifestyle and enjoying the process versus when he was on the keto diet. I mean, yeah, it worked from a fat loss point of view, but from a sustainability and enjoyment point of view, it wasn't there. So I'm not a fan of keto, right? And it's kind of like, it can work in the short term, but you can get fat on keto as well, right? Just because you eliminate carbs doesn't guarantee fat loss. Like, again, it is calories in, calories out at the end of the day. And fat is the most calorie dense food out there. So if you're pouring oil over your food and you're eating your bacon and eggs and your sausage and your cheese and your whatever, it's so easy to go overboard with fat calories, right? Because it's so calorie dense. Like you can miscalculate a few numbers, misjudge a portion size here and there, and then all of a sudden you're not in a calorie deficit anymore. Whereas when you're eating a well-balanced diet and you're filling up on a lot of high volume, low calorie dense foods, there's room for error and you can still make it work. Like nobody got fat because they ate too many fruits and vegetables. Like, well, maybe one in a million has, but like, how many people have you seen like, oh my God, I ate too much kale and I overdid my kale portion and I put myself into a calorie surplus and now I'm fat. No, like you don't get fat because you ate too many vegetables. I've never seen it yet, right? And I mean, in my case, I boatload the vegetables. That's my filler food, right? If I want to eat more and I'm feeling hungry, then I eat more vegetables because that's something you can eat till it's coming out your ears and you're not going to get fat on it. But if you're slamming back bacon and eggs and cheese and sausages and bacon and everything else, yeah, you can get fat on that, right? I mean, people get fat on that shit all the time. So I'm not a fan of keto. I'm much more a fan of a well-balanced diet. And if that happens to be, you want to be tracking macros, but if you are tracking macros, this is where I would recommend to start. I mean, I'm not saying it's the end all be all because we can customize it to you and your situation and your goals, but start with 1/3 protein, 1/3 carbs, 1/3 fat. Like that's a general recommendation, but it would work for about 80% of the people who follow it. And then depending on your needs, we may need to modify it. Like if you're a high performance athlete, we'll probably need to bump up the carbohydrate to give you the energy you need. If maybe in some cases we need to bump up the protein intake a little bit or whatever. But like we can tweak it, but like that's the base. That's the foundation. Start with 1/3 protein, 1/3 carbs, 1/3 fat. Start with that, and then we can go from there. All righty, what else we got there? I'm going to clue it up. There's only a couple more questions there, and then we'll finish it up. See if I can get this done in under an hour and a half. David saying, I work out every single day. 1 year, I went from 160 to 230. IDC the stretch marks. I just want to be big. I work out every single day in a year and went from 160 to 230 IDC. I don't know what IDC means, but the stretch marks. I just want to be big. All right. Well, that's huge progress. Right? That is above and beyond normal. Like most people to go from that, especially if that's lean muscle gains, like that would be like a lifetime of gains. So maybe you're very genetically gifted. I don't know, but congratulations. I mean, I'm not sure if that's just a comment or if you have a question or what, but that is certainly not normal gains by any stretch of the imagination, meaning like average gains. Like there's always a range, like you have normal, below average, and above average. Those would be above average gains for sure. And John says, I don't use oil at all in my cooking with my pan. All right. A nonstick pan. That's what you need. Yeah. Get yourself a nonstick pan. And if you need something like some cooking spray, that's how I do. If I'm going to pan fry something, I'll just use some Pam spray in a nonstick pan. Sometimes you need the Pam spray, sometimes you don't, but right, that's another one. Like when people are counting their calories and stuff, a lot of times people are not tracking the oil or the Pam spray that they use, right? And that's another thing we should mention as well. These cooking sprays, they all have calories. They all have fat. Even if it says 0 calories or 0 fat on the label, that's a crock of BS because read the fine print. I was looking at the one that I have there in the cupboard. It's a cooking spray, and it says 0 calories and 0 grams of fat per serving. But the serving is 1/7 of a second. I can't even measure 1/7 of a second. And who in the heck uses 1/7 of a second? No, you right? You're doing it for several seconds. Like even your 0 calorie fat-free cooking spray still has about 50 to 100 calories by the time you grease up your pan. So it all adds up, right? You still need to factor it all into the greater scheme of things. All right, guys, I'm going to clue it up on that one because we've been going for almost an hour and a half, and I got to clue it up because I got things to do, and my wife's got dinner on the table, so I'm going to go out and have dinner with the family here now. And hopefully you enjoyed the video chat. I certainly enjoyed doing it. I always enjoy these. And so what I'll do now is I will get the replay of this posted up, have the questions and the topics covered there, and I'll post that in timestamps down below. So within the next couple of days, there should be the timestamps. So if you want to go back and rewatch this and check out any of the past Q&A, feel free to do so. And in all the past Q&A, this is what I do. I put the timestamps there afterwards. So when you're scrolling through, if you don't want to go through a full hour or more of video chat, you can just jump to the specific questions that interest you the most, and I'll get that all set up now over the next couple days. And in the meantime, have yourself a fantastic weekend, enjoy yourself, and I'll be back again next Friday with another live Q&A. Have yourself a good one. Take care. Over and out.